Now, the greatest radio shows of all time.
Suspense.
The Shadow Node.
Washington calling David Harding, Counter Spy.
Classic radio theater.
The Great Gildersleeve.
Fibber McGee and Molly.
Dragnet. Gunsmoke.
The Lone Ranger.
Now, step back into a time machine with your host, Wyatt Cox.
Good evening, friends of the Inner Sanctum.
Comedy this Saturday as we go back 78 years to March 11th, 1945. Harold Peary as the Great-Gildersleeve, temporary chairman of the Red Cross Fundraising Committee. We thank you for tuning in on this Saturday. This is the 11th day of March, 70th day of the year, 295 days remaining until we get to 2024. The first regular English-language newspaper, the Daily Courant, published in London in 1702. 1779, Army Corps of Engineers authorized by Congress. 1824, the War Department created the Bureau of Indian Affairs. That was not destined to be successful from the start. Henry Jones invented self-rising flour on this date in 1845, and in 1861 the Constitution of the Confederate States of America was adopted. The Great Blizzard of 1888 began on this date along the eastern seaboard of the U.S., shutting down commerce, killing more than 400 people. A meteorite entered the Earth's atmosphere on this date in 1897, and it exploded over New Martinsville, West Virginia. Damage caused, no injuries. In New York City on this date in 1927, Samuel Roxy Rothenfeld opened the Roxy Theater. In 1941, President Roosevelt signed the Lend-Lease Act into law, allowing American-built war supplies to be shipped to the Allies on loan.
Every plane, every other instrument of war, old and new, every instrument that we can spare now, we will send overseas because that is the common sense of strategy.
A total of $50.1 billion worth of supplies were shipped. That would be equivalent to $659 billion today. 17% of the total war expenditures of the U.S. In return, U.S. given leases on Army and Navy bases in Allied territory during the war. The act ended in September of 1945. In 1942, General Douglas MacArthur abandoned Corregidor in the Philippines. 1982, New Jersey Senator Harrison A. Williams resigned from the Senate shortly before a Senate vote on his expulsion.
I do not feel that I broke any code of ethics.
I guess it was ethical to be convicted of bribery and conspiracy in the Abscam scandal for taking bribes in a sting operation by the FBI. The Senate Committee on Ethics recommended Williams be expelled because of his ethically repugnant conduct, but he chose to resign. 1984, Democrat presidential candidates Gary Hart and Walter Mondale involved in a televised debate prior to the New York and Pennsylvania primaries, when Mondale used a hamburger restaurant slogan to refer to Hart's policies.
When I hear your new ideas, I'm reminded of that ad. Where's the beef? Yeah.
Mondale would eventually win the nomination, but be destroyed by Ronald Reagan at the polls in November, winning only his home state of Minnesota. 1985, Mikhail Gorbachev became the leader of the now-defunct Soviet Union. 1993, Janet Reno confirmed by the U.S. Senate and sworn in the next day, becoming the first female Attorney General of the United States. 1997, former Beatle Paul McCartney knighted. 2002, 2 columns of light soared skyward from Ground Zero in New York as a temporary memorial to the victims 6 months after the September 11 attacks. Passing away on this date in history, Johnny Appleseed, Oscar Mayer, yes, these were real people, Admiral Richard E. Byrd, the explorer, novelist Earl Stanley Gardner, TV pioneer Philo T. Farnsworth, Dino Bravo, pro wrestler, also actor Vince Edwards, you remember him best from Dr. Casey, also actress-singer Betty Hutton, and a fellow named John Hill, whom you don't know by that name, but he was also known as the Stomper and Gentleman Jerry Valiant, and football player actor Merlin Olsen. This is the birth date of Lawrence Welk, Albert Salami, also Antonin Scalia, former Supreme Court Justice, Buffy in Family Affair, Anissa Jones, and Chekhov in the Star Trek reboot, Anton Yelchin. Turning 92 today is Rupert Murdoch. Reporter Sam Donaldson of ABC News for so many years, 89 today. Bobby McFerrin, don't worry, be happy. Bobby McFerrin, 73. The man who directed such greats as Airplane and Ghost, Jerry Zucker, 73. Cheryl Lynn, Got to Be Real, yes. Cheryl Lynn, 66 today. Jesse Jackson Jr., 58. From CSI, Wallace Langham, 58. Singer Lisa Loeb, Stay, a great hit for her. They say you don't cry if you want to. 55 years old today is Lisa Loeb. From Empire, Terrence Howard, 54. Good Charlotte's founders, Benji and Joel Madden. They are twins, yes, and they're both 44 today. From Alias and Heroes, David Anders is 42. And from The Walking Dead, Thora Birch is 41. Though some of the people celebrating the 11th day of March is their birthday, if this is your birthday...
Hi, we're the Four Freshmen, and we just want to say... Happy birthday to you!
And from 78 years ago today, March 11th, 1945, Harold Peary as the Great Gildersleeve. Thank you for tuning in to this Saturday edition of Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox on your favorite radio station. Now, if your station carries our third hour today, you will hear the program that begat the Great Gildersleeve, and that is Fibber, McGee, and Molly. This is known as the first radio spin-off, where a character from one show got his own show, and that was Fibber, McGee, and Molly. The Great Gildersleeve was lived next to the Gildersleeves at 79 Wistful Vista, and that's what you're going to hear today. The Great Gildersleeve from, I think this would be the third or fourth season of the show, March 11th, 1945. 78 years ago today. Fibber, McGee, and Molly later. Right now, The Great Gildersleeve on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox.
Kraft presents The Great Gildersleeve.
You bet.
The Kraft Cheese Company, makers of Parquet margarine and a complete line of famous quality food products, presents Harold Peary as The Great Gildersleeve. Kraft brings you The Great Gildersleeve every week at this time, written by John Wheaton and Sam Moore with music by Claude Sweeten. Now let's join the Great Gildersleeve, who's been practically a new man since his sister-in-law, Aunt Hattie, left Summerfield. We find him now occupying his official chair as the town's water commissioner near the end of the best day's work he's done in some time.
Well, come on, Bessie. Give me more letters to answer, more complaints to handle, more worlds to conquer.
Mr. Gildersleeve, I don't think there are any more.
Now, Bessie, when I'm in the mood for work, you better take advantage of it.
Yes, sir. I never saw you like this before. Would you feel like signing a few checks for the March bill?
Bring 'em on, Bessie. At the end of the day, the water department will owe no man a penny. Oh, give me bills, lots of bills, neath the starry skies above.
Mr. Gildersleeve, I just don't understand you today.
Well, there's nothing mysterious about me, Bessie. Haven't you ever talked to a fellow just got out of jail?
Oh, I should say not. I don't associate with those kind of people.
Yeah, I beg your pardon, Bessie. I was merely using a figure of speech. What I meant was I just got out of jail myself. I'm a canary. I just got out of my cage. I'm a goldfish, and I sneaked out of my bowl.
When a goldfish gets out of his bowl, he dies in about 10 minutes.
I know, Bessie.
We had one once. He jumped out of his bowl and landed inside the piano. Then he passed away.
I see.
We didn't find him for several days. It made it awfully hard to play the piano.
Must have made it hard to stay in the house. What I was trying to explain, Bessie, is that I feel very free today, you know, full of energy, vitality, and beans.
Okay. Here are the bills.
Isn't that funny? All of a sudden, I don't feel like working anymore. I feel like playing. Come on, Bessie, let's play, huh?
Mr. Gildersleeve, we can't play. This is an office.
I don't care. Let's play anyway.
Play what?
Oh, anything. Ring around the rosy, drop the handkerchief, musical chairs. Post office?
I know what's the matter with you, Mr. Gildersleeve. You've got spring fever.
By George, I wonder if that's it. Well, whatever it is, I've done a lot of work today, and I'm not going to do any more. Come on, Bessie, let's dance.
Oh, well, there's no music.
Oh, we'll make our own music. Oh, give me music, neath the starry skies above. Woo! Come dance with me.
Oh, Mr. Gildersleeve, here comes somebody.
What?
Yes.
Oh, he.
Uncle Mort, what on earth are you doing?
Well, if it isn't my favorite niece. The prettiest flower in Summerfield. You know Marjorie, don't you, Bessie?
Oh, yes. Hello, Marjorie.
Hello, Bessie. I just dropped in hoping I could chisel a ride home, Uncle Mort. But I can wait if you're busy.
By a curious coincidence, my dear, I just decided not to do another stroke of work today.
Well, I'd been doing a little shopping, and I just thought maybe I wouldn't have to carry all these packages home.
Quite right, my dear. New hat you're wearing?
Isn't it darling?
Oh, it's beautiful.
Say, it does something for you, my dear. Makes you look grown up. By George, with that outfit, you ought to go places.
I hope some darn boy will think so, too.
I get so sick of waiting for them, don't you?
Absolutely disgusted. But what else is there to go out with?
Well, I'll tell you what we'll do, Marjorie. You and I'll go out and paint the town tonight. What do you say?
Oh, Unky, do you mean it?
Of course I mean it. You think you'd like to step out with your old uncle?
Oh, you're not old. I'll bet a middle-aged woman would think you were fascinating.
Never mind the middle-aged women. What do you think?
I think you're Prince Charming.
That's the girl. All right, my dear, we'll make whoopee tonight. We'll go to every lively spot in town. After that, we'll rush around and wake up a few of the dead ones. We'll make a night of it. Till 11:30. Where does all this traffic come from?
Everybody's hurrying home to dinner, I guess. Red light, Uncle Mort.
Oh, didn't see it. You coming over here?
No, but you better back up. You're in the crosswalk.
I don't know why they have to change these lights so suddenly. Anything behind me? Oh! All right. You saw I was backing. Why don't you learn to drive, brother? Where's that cop, Marjorie?
Look, isn't that Charlie Pettibone?
Charlie who? Where?
It is. It's Charlie Pettibone. Blow your horn at him. Here.
Don't do that, Marjorie. I'm in bad with a cop already.
Charlie! Hey, Charlie!
I don't see any Charlie.
Uniform there. He must be home on leave.
Why, George, it is. Hello, Charlie. Remember me, Mr. Gildersleeve?
Oh, of course. Hello. How are you? It sure is. Oh.
Well, I see you remember little Marjorie, don't you?
You bet. Only the last time I saw her. Well, I didn't realize I'd been away so long.
You look fine, Charlie.
So do you.
Well, how does it seem to get back to the old hometown, eh?
Oh, great. Great.
Are you home for long?
2 weeks. Hope I'll see you around.
The lights changed, Uncle Mort.
Oh, yeah. Well, come and see us, Charlie. Regards to your father and mother.
Oh, by the way, Marge, what are you doing tonight?
What?
Goodbye, Charlie.
We should have offered him a ride, Uncle Mort.
You haven't forgotten you have a date with your old uncle, I hope.
Charlie looks wonderful in this uniform, doesn't he?
Yes, he does. Nice boy, Charlie. Nice boy.
Did you see all the ribbons he had?
Yeah, he must have seen plenty of action, all right. Can't be much more than 19, either.
It's only a difference of 3 years.
What do you mean?
Oh, look out, red light!
Oh! How do I keep missing him?
You just barely missed that woman.
Why don't they look... It's Eve. It's Miss Goodwin. Eve.
Oh, hello, Throckmorton.
Come on, climb in. I'll take you where you're going. Open the door, Marjorie.
Well, that's awfully nice of you. Hello, Marjorie.
Hello, Miss Goodwin. I'll climb in back.
Hop in, Eve. Where you going?
I was on my way home.
Take you right there.
You're sure it won't be out of your way?
Nonsense. I'd go out of my way for you anytime.
Oh, you're very sweet.
You know, we haven't seen each other in a long time, Eve. We ought to do something about that.
Well, I've been busy, school and now the Red Cross drive.
Well, I've been busy too, but never too busy to say hello. Hello, Eve. Yeah.
Oh, watch it. Uncle Mort.
Oh.
You went right through that one.
Well, it was too late to stop.
Uncle Mort, why did you let me drive?
I've told you, my dear, you're too young to drive.
Well, somebody Somebody ought to be driving.
Dear. Now, don't worry. I've never had an accident. That was my fault. Say, there's Floyd Munson. Hi, Floyd.
You hold on to the wheel, Unky. I'll do the waving.
Hi, George. The town is full of people today. We saw young Charlie Pettibone a little ways back.
Oh, really? I knew he was in town. I've been seeing a good deal of his mother lately.
Oh?
Yes, the Women's Club has been helping in the Red Cross drive, and she's president, of course. President of the Women's Club. You might think she was president of the Red Cross, too.
Yeah, I've always found her a little difficult myself.
Difficult. But then they're all difficult. Oh, here it is, Throckmorton.
Huh? Oh, yes. Been so long since I almost went by it. Wait a minute, Eve. What's your hurry?
Well, here we are, and you must be anxious to get home.
Not at all. Don't rush off. What about what I was saying before? We never seem to see each other anymore.
I'm always happy to see you, Throckmorton. It's just that...
Then how about tonight?
Well, I'm not sure that I'll...
Mort, what about our evening?
Oh, I forgot you were back there, Marjorie.
Don't worry. I might go out with Charlie Pettibone.
Good idea. How about tonight, Eve?
Honestly, Throckmorton, I'm so busy with the Red Cross, I haven't any time.
Oh.
Of course, if I had a little help, you wouldn't like to give us a hand, would you?
Sure. What's your problem, Eve? I'll clear it up in 5 minutes.
Well, you see, Judge Hooker's chairman of the Red Cross drive, but he's in Chicago, and he hasn't been able to get reservations back.
Serves him right.
So they've asked me to help out till he returns.
Oh?
And I've been having a perfectly awful time, particularly with the women. To begin with, there's Mrs. Pettibone and her crowd.
Yeah, I know him. What do you want me to do about it?
Well, if you could take over the chairmanship...
Oh, you... Gosh, Eve.
Oh, just till the judge gets back. You handle these things so easily.
Oh, you think so?
You have a wonderful way with women, Throckmorton. Now, Leela Ransom, for instance.
Leela, what's she up to?
Well, Leela and I are on very good terms, but she is being a little difficult.
You just leave Leela to me.
I thought if you could speak to her and sort of straighten her out.
Don't worry, Eve.
I mean, if you could just reason with her and... Well, you know the way.
I know the way, but it has nothing to do with reason.
Oh, Throckmorton, this is such a relief. I know you'll make a wonderful chairman.
You just watch that old thermometer on the city hall go up, Eve. All these women need is a little handling, and I'm just the man who can do it.
Oh, Throckmorton.
Oh, hello, Leela.
Come in.
Something smells wonderful.
Spam, an old recipe of my grandmother Beecham's. I hope you'll forgive my apron.
Oh, it's pretty. Got ruffles.
I'd ask you to stay to dinner.
Oh, I couldn't. No, Bertie's got our dinner waiting. I just wanted to ask you something, Leela.
Yes?
What's this I hear about trouble between you and Eve over the Red Cross?
Trouble? Oh, you must be mistaken, Throckmorton. Why, Eve and I are the best of friends.
Oh, maybe I got it wrong.
I will admit I think she's being a little bossy about the whole thing. You'd think she was running it.
Well, isn't she?
That's not the point.
Yeah.
It isn't Eve anyway. It's that Mrs. Pettibone. I simply had to tell Eve. I said to her, my dear, much as I admire the Red Cross, and I do, Throckmorton, I think it's wonderful what they're doing for the soldiers, but I said to her, much as I admire it, I shall simply have to refuse to have anything more to do with the drive, as long as that woman is connected with it.
Now, Leela, that's no attitude.
Oh, let me tell you what she did first, and then if you don't agree that my attitude is perfectly justified, I'll never speak to you again.
Well, what did she do?
Well, what didn't she do? Hogan Brothers let us use one of the windows in their store for a Red Cross display. And the idea was to have one of the ladies dress up in a Red Cross uniform and sit in the window rolling bandages.
Good idea.
Well, I was chosen to sit in the window. That was distinctly understood by Judge Hooker before he left town. In fact, he told me he chose me because the Red Cross uniform was so becoming to me.
Well, it's becoming to any woman.
That's a matter of opinion. Anyway, I was to sit in the window. I had my hair done specially and everything. Well, I went down to Hogan Brothers yesterday morning at 9 o'clock, and what do you think? There was Mrs. Pettibone in the window, sitting in my place, wearing my uniform and rolling my bandages. What do you think of that?
Well, I don't know what to say. Maybe Mrs. Pettibone is a better bandage roller.
Mrs. Pettibone is a butterfingers. Besides, it isn't as if I wanted to sit in the old window. I had a better idea, only nobody would listen to me.
What was that?
I wanted to raise money with a kissing booth.
A what?
A kissing booth.
Sounds interesting. Tell me more.
The only problem with Gildersleeve is he would want to take some samples. Harold Peary, the Great Gildersleeve, March 11th, 1945, here on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. The news from 78 years ago today follows these important messages on this Saturday from your favorite radio station. Classic Radio Theater family, you know our friend Mike Lindell has a passion to help everyone get the best sleep of your life. He didn't stop by just creating the best pillow. He created the best bed sheets ever. They look and feel great, which means an even better night's sleep for me because, you know, I'm working like 67 hours a day. Now, Mike's offering the best deal on his Giza Dreams bed sheets ever. You can get a set of Giza sheets for as low as $29.98. You'll never want to sleep on anything else once you slept on a set of Giza Dream sheets. A special offer for you right now. You can get a set of Giza sheets for as low as $29.98. Call 1-800-928-4715. Use the promo code Wyatt. Or go to mypillow.com, use the promo code Wyatt. It's good on anything on the website. That number again, 1-800-928-4715. Use my promo code Wyatt. Thanks for spending part of your weekend with us here on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. We're listening to an episode of The Great Gildersleeve starring Harold Peary, as it was originally broadcast on Sunday, March 11th, 1945. And in the newspapers of that Sunday, 78 years ago, these were some of the headlines. American troops gained almost a mile in the Remagen bridgehead east of the Rhine yesterday, while collapse of the German West Bank bridgehead opposite Wesel and the mop-up of trapped pockets in the Eifel region dealt new blows to the apparent fast-ebbing German defense, which may foreshadow an early end of the war in Europe. Meanwhile, Russian troops began shelling the great shipping center of Stettin yesterday and drove 4 armored spearheads close to bombard Danzig, while the Germans announced that Red Army shock forces had captured half of Kärnten, key Oder River fortress 38 miles east of Imperial Berlin. Spokesman for the meat industry said yesterday the nation is experiencing the worst meat shortage of the war. Members of the American Meat Institute said Sunday dinner tables this weekend would hold many meat substitutes and that the week's supplies would be 40% less than those of 1944. John J. Tunzer, Secretary of the Joint Council of Retail Meat Dealers, said in Chicago that the majority of the city's 6,500 meat markets had no meat stocks for sale. He predicted that many would close over the weekend and others go on 3 or 4 day schedules this week. Fred Walsher, who dreamt up a new world utopia while he cleaned spittoons in his brother's tavern, will be given a lie detector test Monday to learn whether he planned his own crucifixion. Police are convinced that the 44-year-old Austrian-born porter submitted willingly to the ordeal as a bizarre publicity stunt for his plan, but the hospitalized victim refuses to admit it. To the Far East, where Major General Curtis LeMay said in Guam the great B-29 superfortress raid on Tokyo left nothing but twisted, rumble-down rubble in its path. The prepared statement by the 21st Bomber Commander leader added that the devastating results were incontrovertibly established by reconnaissance photographs taken on the afternoon of the strike. Low-cost factory-built homes that can be expanded to fit a family's growth were described last night by the War Production Board's Office of Production Research and Development. 2 systems of inexpensive prefabricated unit housing have been designed and tested by the University of Michigan. The agency says they will permit a newly married couple to occupy a home sufficient for their immediate needs and to add as future family and economic circumstances dictate. The man who saved the Remagen Bridge remains just a darn nice boy to friends who knew him when he was a bowling alley pinboy. Lieutenant John Battlefield Mitchell, 27, identified yesterday in dispatches from the front line as the officer who led a daring charge of American engineers across the bridge and cut wires to a cache of German explosives. A War Labor Board official said last night that he had been advised a walkout in the motion picture industry is scheduled for Monday and that he has asked union leaders to cancel any such plans. The dispute, in which two AFL unions claim jurisdiction over movie set decorators, caused a 6-day work stoppage last October involving about 750 workers. And in Buffalo, New York, hairdressers there are finding that beer is unsurpassable for setting waves. According to one hairdresser, it dries faster, makes hair softer, brings a sheen to the hair, and really doesn't smell at all. Those some of the day's top news stories, as reported in the newspapers of Sunday, March 11th, 1945, on your radio, The Great Gildersleeve, which continues now on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox.
You've never heard of a kissing booth?
Yeah.
Why, that's how we always raise money down home. You just have a booth with a pretty girl in it, and you charge $1 a kiss.
Sounds foolproof to me. I'd be willing to put a little money in a thing like that myself.
Of course. Why, I remember one time down in Savannah, I was running a kissing booth for the Bidewee home, and George William Hungerford came round. He was terribly in love with me at the time, and his family was rich as sin. And do you know, he kissed $100 goodbye before he knew it.
Yeah.
Well, I had to go to bed for 2 days, but the Bidewee home got its steam table.
Yeah. Well, you know what you're up against in a town like this, Leela. People probably think kissing is a little undignified for the Red Cross.
Why, for goodness sakes, I think it would be very good for morale. But who's going to get any thrill out of watching that pudgy Mrs. Pettibone sit in Hogan's window and fumble with bandages?
Now, Leela, be fair. This is for a patriotic purpose.
Well, gracious, I guess I'm just as patriotic as anybody. If you're implying that
I'm not implying anything, Leela. I just don't see how kisses are going to win the war.
Oh, so you're siding with her?
I'm not siding with anybody, Leela. I'm just asking you to be reasonable.
Oh, now I'm unreasonable.
Oh, I didn't say that, Leela, but I've been asked to act as chairman of this thing.
Oh, you're the chairman. Well, let me tell you, Mr. Chairman, I don't want any part of anything that Mrs. Pettibone's connected with.
But Leela...
I'm sorry, Throckmorton. My supper's ready, and I'm sure yours is, too.
How did I ever get into this?
Great Gildersleeve will be with us again in just a few seconds.
From 78 years ago, March 11th, 1948, The Great Gildersleeve on this Saturday, Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. On Sunday's Classic Radio Theater, Did Justice Triumph, a Mutual Network program from 76 years ago, March 12th, 1947, the murder on Green Mountain. An old man has been murdered, and the sheriff discovers that although he was poor, there were 6 insurance policies taken out on his life. That's coming up on Sunday's Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. But now, the conclusion of The Great Gildersleeve, 78 years ago today, March 11th, 1945.
Now let's get back to Summerfield and the Great Gildersleeve. His second day as chairman of the Red Cross fundraising drive is only half over, but Gildersleeve's house is already buzzing with activity.
I don't see how we can get any more chairs in the living room, Bertie.
Mr. Gildersleeve, we ain't got any more chairs.
Oh? Well, maybe Leroy could bring down that rocking chair from the attic.
Leroy saw this coming, Mr. Gildersleeve. He skinned out of here right after breakfast.
That darn kid. Well, let's see. Guess I'll have to sit here as chairman, and there's room for 3 on the sofa. 1 here, 2 here, 2 here, and the 4 dining room chairs. That's 12. Then if we can only... Answer that, will you, Bertie? I'll pull the piano bench around so somebody can sit on that.
Yes, sir. Careful, it's a little weak. I'm coming. Oh, my goodness, that's the doorbell, too. Which one should I answer?
You answer the phone. I'll get the door, Bertie.
Yes, sir. Red Cross headquarters.
No, sorry, Sonny. Leroy's not here.
Who's calling, please?
No, I don't know where he is.
Just a minute. Mr. Gildersleeve, it's the water department. Are you home?
Can't bother with water today, Bertie.
Uh-oh, there goes the back door.
Oh, Bert. Leroy's basketball? I don't know. He must have taken it with him, Alfred. Now, you can't come in and wait. Geez, God.
I'm sorry, but Mr. Gildersleeve's not at home. Goodbye. I don't think she believes me.
Yeah, I don't care. What the devil's at the back door?
Uncle Mort, there's a big truck in the driveway full of posters. The man says they're for you.
Posters? Is that the man at the back door?
No, the Eggman's at the back door.
Oh, my goodness.
Tell the Eggman to leave a dozen eggs and tell the other man to take the posters away. Hello?
But they're Red Cross posters, Uncle Mort. They're beautiful.
I don't care if they're painted by Tetrazzini. Get them out of here. Yes, this is Mr. Gildersleeve.
Where should the man take the posters?
To Mrs. Pettibones.
She sent them here.
Oh, tell him to put them in the garage.
Okay.
Gee. Oh, yes. Hello, Mrs. Edwards. Yes, indeed. We are having a meeting tonight at my house. Yeah, 219 Lakeside. Just take the south bus around 8 o'clock, yes. That's fine, Mrs. Edwards. Goodbye. Mrs. Edwards. Well, I don't know who invited her, but she'll have to sit on the floor.
Well, hello, Mr. Gildersleeve. What can I do for you this afternoon?
Just give me a little peace and quiet, Peavy, and a tuna salad sandwich.
Tuna salad it shall be. I thought things had quieted down at your house the last few days.
Well, they had. Last night I got myself mixed up in something new. This is the worst yet, Peavy. A woman's committee.
Oh.
Having a meeting at my house tonight. Got every chair I own stuffed into the parlor. There'll be women hanging from the chandeliers.
Yeah, I know how that is, Mr. Gildersleeve. We have those things at our house every so often.
Oh? Committee?
No, this is purely a social affair. Mrs. Peavy belongs to a reading club, and the ladies take turns meeting at each other's houses, and it works out so that the earthquake hits us about every 6 months.
Earthquake is right, Peavy. But a reading club must be fairly peaceful.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that. Last year, they were reading A Tree Grows in Brooklyn, and there was some pretty strong talk. Some liked the ending, and some didn't. Some said it was true to life, and some said it wasn't. The club had to go back to the Atlantic Monthly for a while to get back on an even keel.
That's nothing, Peavy. That's nothing. Why, a committee?
Here's your sandwich, Mr. Gildersleeve.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. A committee is far worse than any club could possibly be, Peavy. Were you ever on a committee with a bunch of women?
Yes, I've served.
Well, how'd you like it?
Mr. Gildersleeve, some of my best customers are women.
Stop thinking about your cash register, Peavy. Women are fiends, and you know it.
Well, no, I wouldn't say that.
It's true, Peavy. Mark my words. We're going to have to fight them before we're through.
Well, Mr. Gildersleeve, if there ever was a war to be neutral in, that'll be the one.
Listen, Peavy, this committee is for the Red Cross, and these women want to kill each other over who gets credit for a $100 donation from the First National Bank. Did you ever hear anything as silly as that?
Well, I was on a committee with some men once, air raid wardens, a few years back. I remember they argued one night for 2 hours about whether we should paint the hose cart red or white.
Red is the only color for a hose cart.
And you can't see it at night.
No, don't be silly, Peavy. All fire engines are red.
Fact remains you can see a white hose cart and you can't see a red one.
It's all right. Paint it white. By George, you argue just like a woman.
You argue just like an air raid warden.
What?
No offense, Mr. Gildersleeve.
Yeah?
Some of my best customers are air raid wardens.
Here, Peavy.
Aren't you going to finish your sandwich?
No.
A little milk to slush it down?
No, confound it. I come in here looking for a little peace and quiet, and you get me so upset, I can't eat.
Talk about your women.
Ladies, please. As your chairman, if I may make a suggestion.
Well, I frankly see no reason against it.
Mrs. Pettibone, I can give you a very good reason.
Well, if you ask me, I still think we do much better with a kissing booth.
Oh, really, Mrs. Ransom? If we've got to go through all that again.
Ladies, if I might make a suggestion. No, I guess not.
Throckmorton, there's someone at the door. door.
Bertie, doorbell. Been with us a long time.
Judge Hooker.
Hello, Bertie.
Thought you was in Chicago, Judge.
I'm back.
It's Judge Hooker, girl.
Back only about an hour ago. Well, ladies, this is a pleasure. I didn't know whether you'd still be in session here or not.
Welcome home, Judge.
Thank you, Gildy.
You got here just in time. Ladies, it gives me the greatest pleasure to turn this meeting over to our rightful chairman, Judge Hooker.
Oh, no. Don't let me disturb anything, Gildy. I'll just sit right here. Pray, proceed.
Oh, but I insist. After all, you're the chairman, Judge. I'm only acting in your absence.
Pretend I'm absent.
Yeah, but, Judge...
Let's get on with the meeting, shall we?
Proceed, Gildy.
You old goat. Well, where were we? Oh, yeah.
I say we ought to have a kissing booth.
Doorbell, Gildy.
Bertie! Yes, more interruptions here.
Is Mrs. Pettibone here?
Yes, sir, she is. Come in.
Oh, I'm her son. She asked me to call for her.
Oh, my goodness, you're so big. I never even recognized you in your uniform.
Oh, Charles, darling, come in and meet the ladies. We are not quite through yet. You don't mind waiting?
Oh, not at all. I'm not going anywhere.
Oh, girls, you all know my son. Charles is driving me home.
No, don't move. Don't get up. I'll sit just over here.
Hello there, Charlie.
Oh, hi, Mr. Gildersleeve.
Charles, my boy, it's an honor to have you here with us this evening.
Well, thank you, Judge. Don't let me interrupt the meeting.
Oh, that's all right. The judge has already interrupted it. Shall we proceed, ladies?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Mrs. Ransom?
Since Judge Hooker's here, I should like to ask him whether he did or did not tell me that I was to roll bandages in Hogan's window.
I've told you, Mrs. Ransom, the judge personally appointed me to represent the Red Cross at Hogan.
If you don't mind, Mrs. Pettibone, I'd rather hear it from the judge.
Yeah, how about that, Judge? Which of these ladies did you choose for the honor?
I'm reminded of an old story about the trolley car conductor who, when a lady accosted him...
This has nothing to do with any old story, Judge.
No, it hasn't. Which of us did you say could sit in Hogan's window? Ladies, I find myself in the predicament of Paris when he was called upon to judge who was the fairest of women. But being of a judicial turn of mind, I lean more to the judgment of Solomon. In brief, I should like to see you both sitting in Hogan's window.
The window isn't big enough for both of us.
The state isn't big enough for both of us.
Now, ladies, please, no petty jealousy.
What's petty about it?
We're all working for the Red Cross here, you know.
Mr. Chairman.
The chair recognizes Mrs. Pettibone.
If I might be permitted to change the subject.
Pray do.
I should like to ask Miss Goodwin just why the public school started its Red Cross collection a day early.
Well, I don't see that it makes much difference. Naturally, we wanted to make a good showing.
You knew very well, Miss Goodwin, the children would collect from their mothers before the Woman's Club could reach them.
That's not true.
No,
you
ladies.
just wanted to get all the credit.
Oh, no, she didn't.
Don't tell me I wasn't speaking to you anyway.
Ladies. Ladies, please. This isn't getting us anyplace. Judge, lend me a hand here. Won't you just sit there laughing, you old goat?
Now, ladies, quiet, please. Quiet.
Quiet?
Judge Hooker wants to speak. Thank you. By way of diversion, ladies, I should like to suggest that we have an honored guest here tonight, young Charlie Pettibone, or I should say, Lieutenant Pettibone.
Sergeant.
What's that?
Sergeant.
Oh, Sergeant Pettibone, I'm sorry.
No offense.
Anyway, I think it might be nice if Charlie would say a few words to us.
Oh, no, please.
Come, Charles. Say something to the lady.
Yeah, come on, Charlie. Tell us some of your experiences.
Gosh, I don't know anything to say.
Tell us what it's like over there. I remember the last war. Of course, I didn't get across myself, but I remember it. I'll never forget one time. We were stationed at Camp Upton, and one morning the CO lined us all up.
Gildy.
What?
Charlie was going to tell us about his experiences.
Oh, yeah. Well, how about it, Charlie? How about those French girls over there?
Yeah, how about those mademoiselles?
Parlez-vous français?
Oh, you did? Hey, Charlie?
Yeah, come on, Charlie. Tell us all about it, huh?
Well, all right, I'll tell you about it. Over where I was, there weren't any French girls. There weren't any girls of any kind, except the Army nurses and the girls from the Red Cross. I don't like to say this, and maybe I shouldn't, but coming back here and seeing what's going on, around home, and what I've heard here tonight, well, I've seen what the Red Cross does at the front, and I hate to think it gets this kind of a kicking around at home.
Charles, If you're talking about us...
Now, wait a minute, Mother. I know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about you and everybody. I hope you won't get mad. But let me ask you something. You think the Red Cross workers with the Army have got time to worry about who gets the credit or who wears the uniform? They've got a job to do, and they get it done. Now, you're complaining because the school kids got out and collected the dough before you and your committee got moving. Well, I say good for them, because I know the kind of support the Red Cross is giving us in the Army. And I think the Red Cross ought to get the same kind of support here in Summerfield, instead of a lot of people fighting among themselves and figuring what's in it for them. And, well, if this is the kind of thing that's going on, I'm sorry I came home. Guess I've said enough now.
If no one else has anything to say, I move we adjourn.
Second the motion.
But first, I want to say this. There's going to be another meeting of this committee at my office at 8:30 tomorrow morning.
8:30?
8:30. And any lady who starts any nonsense, I'll punch her right in the nose. Well, folks, this was just a little fable. But let's remember, the big thing is for the Red Cross to keep going. They do so many vitally important things for our men that can't be done by anyone else. Their help to the wounded, the prisoners of war, their organization of blood banks, all these services must continue. So when your neighbors come around and ask you for a contribution, remember to be generous. Good night, everybody.
Music on this program was directed by Claude Sweet. This is Ken Carpenter speaking for the Kraft Cheese Company, makers of parquet margarine and a complete line of famous quality food products. Kraft invites you to listen again next week for the further adventures of the Great Gildersleeve.
March 11th, 1945, The Great Gildersleeve on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Visit my webpage, classicradio.stream. You can stream our shows on demand, learn about building a classic radio collection of your own. Contact me there, find our social media links, and if you like what we do, you can buy me a coffee. That's at classicradio.stream. Thank this station, support their advertisers, tell your friends the great radio shows are right here at this spot on the dial. Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox on your favorite radio station. Have a great Saturday.